Welcome to episode 4 of Sustaining Australia TV, brought to you by the Australian Food and Grocery Council in partnership with ASN Media. This program comes to you from Gadigal Land and the University of Technology Sydney, home of the Institute for Sustainable Futures. Australia's regional communities are the lifeblood of our food and grocery industry, providing the quality ingredients and food products that keep the industry and rural townships vibrant and alive. In this episode, we explore how changing times are affecting our regional industries. When humble beginnings grow into a successful global brand, it could be very easy to lose sight of what really matters. But for one of Australia's best known and grower-owned businesses, sustaining the land, a staple crop and a community has guided their every decision. This report from the Riverina, where the Sunrise Group is harvesting the benefits of putting back into the community.
The school holidays, we're always helping the uncles. My uncles were rice farmers. They're driving the auger bin on the rice harvest on our holidays. The Sunrise Festival at Easter, fantastic. Great community event.
For me, it's personal. My dad still works here, worked here for 35 years. My grandfather worked here on the paddy gang, and my mum worked in the appraisal lab.
For employees at Sunrise Group's mill and headquarters here in Leeton, New South Wales, as for many people of the Riverina region, the links between family, work and community have always been strong.
Yeah, we actually grew up within a stone's throw of the rice mill, both of us.
Yeah.
Stacey's father and myself were good friends.
Involvement in local communities at the heart of what we do. We play a big role both in job creation but also in generating benefit back to those communities. So it's really important that we work together in partnership to get the best outcome for both.
The Sunrise Group's links to community today are part of a long heritage.
Sunrise started in the Riverina more than 70 years ago when members of the rice growing community wanted to pool their resources to take their product to market. Today, through a unique structure on the ASX, we still have a board that has a dominance of Australian rice growers on it and a share structure that is a dual structure allowing the active growers in the rice growing community to control the constitution of the company. I think that provides a really strong connection with the community in the Riverina.
In an average crop year, we deliver in excess of $400 million per annum to the region, and that's translated as supporting 600 growers. We employ 500 people from across the Riverina, and we also support 400 local suppliers and businesses.
400 people means 400 families. That means 400 people at schools, in sporting groups and community groups.
For Leeton City Council Mayor Tony Reniker, the benefits of Sunrise's local focus are clear.
Every dollar spent on rice returns about $4 to the economy here in Leeton, so it's very important for us. I'm always very chuffed to say we've got an ASX listed company in our shire.
Today, the Sunrise Group produces over 1,500 products for the Australian and global markets. From its humble beginnings as a single grower-owned mill, it is now taking the rice-producing potential of the Riverina to the world.
We are one of the largest exporters out of Australia and very proud that we deliver food security into a number of markets around the world, particularly in the communities like the Solomons, Papua New Guinea, even Vietnam and some of our other markets. By being a provider of rice, high quality rice products, we can guarantee food security in these markets.
But there is another way the Sunrise Group is working towards a sustainable future for rice production in Australia and overseas.
There's a huge investment that also gets made into research and development, particularly in Australia, and what we then do is feed that into our grower community.
The journey from paddy to plate begins here with the rice harvest. But the growing practices developed here in the Riverina region are already travelling themselves. Australian rice varietals are garnering a lot of international attention, with strains grown here producing more rice per hectare than anywhere else in the world. For Jim and Anthony Silvestro, the varietal research done by Sunrise Group's research and development team means greater yields and greater reinvestment back into the community.
Like I keep telling everyone, I've been growing it for nearly 50 years. Never once have I made a loss out of growing rice, never once.
It's changed a lot from when I was younger. It's not about return on the crop, it's more about return per megalitre now. So you really got to look at how to grow the most efficient crop, changing varieties, always being up to date on trials.
The varieties are getting better, they're getting a lot more cold resistant because rice is very susceptible to cold weather. The first yields we were getting about 7 tonne a hectare and you're doing really well. Now we're getting double that. And that's partly to do with me, but it's partly to do with everybody.
The Sunrice Group has also created circular economies around its rice manufacturing, with business division CopRice value-adding to the manufacturing process, using Riverina rice byproducts from the mill process in its animal nutrition feeds.
I think Sunrice is the poster child for value-add agriculture in Australia. Over many decades now, we've taken the commodity grown by our rice growers and converted it to value-added products in the Riverina using regional labour, and the workforces have seen the benefit of that in high-value employment.
For Leeton site manager Simon Skitch-Luna, however, the key to a sustainable future remains investing in people.
We find that people are invested in the communities and really want to make a difference. And building skills within our people is one of the key criteria for us to ensure sustainability.
Over the last 18 months, Sunrice have put me through a frontline leadership course, which is something that I never would have really envisioned myself doing, maybe 6 years ago, but they obviously seen something in me that I may not have seen in myself.
I started here as a packerman on the line, with only endeavours to stay for like 12 months. 12 years later, still here, and just came from quality coordinating.
It's clear to see that for the Sunrice Group and the communities of the Riverina, an opportunity given is an opportunity shared.
We work hard and we're rewarded with the things, the opportunities that come with that. I've been around a little while and look, it's still a family company. It started that way for me. I still see it that way.
Food and grocery production is Australia's biggest manufacturing sector, worth nearly $134 billion. It's a vital link between our agricultural sector and supermarket shelves around the country and across the globe. We spoke with AFGC CEO Tanya Barden about the contribution of regional manufacturing and its outlook.
Food and grocery manufacturing is often the cornerstone of rural and regional communities. There will sometimes be a small community that has a large dairy processor, for example, that is drawing on dairy farmers within those communities. It's also using local transport drivers, local fitters and turners. And so there are a lot of job opportunities, not only directly in manufacturing, but also in the spin-off industries that are associated around it. So that provides jobs. It also provides great opportunity to be able to transform Australia's fantastic agricultural product in those regional areas and then to be able to shift that into market where the consumers are.
And regional businesses in the sector are doing a lot to assist the community.
Food and grocery manufacturers really have very strong brands that are recognised in the community, and they also recognise the important role those brands can play in contributing good things to society. And so we will often see manufacturers who will work with community, sometimes at a grassroots level, sponsoring sporting events, right through to working with local farmers on how to improve some of the sustainability initiatives on farm. So beyond just providing everyday products that people consume, the industry is really playing its role at that grassroots level, working with communities, working with supply chain partners for the benefit of Australia. Hence our tagline, Sustaining Australia.
So what is needed to support regional industry?
Food and grocery manufacturing is one of the unsung heroes of the Australian economy. We produce $135 billion worth of output. We employ 275,000 people, and about 40% of those are in rural and regional areas. We take Australia's very fine agricultural produce and we transform that into the products that people use and consume every day. That industry is something that we cannot take for granted. And I think the disruption over the last few years has shown that we need to really work to improve the resilience and the competitiveness of Australian manufacturing. That means working with policymakers to ensure that we have access to the right skills, to ensure that we have fixes around some of the transport challenges we have in this country, both in terms of road, rail and other freight means, and also in terms of policy settings that drive investment. We need to renew some of our capital equipment to not only improve competitiveness, but to also drive sustainability outcomes. And we need to partner and collaborate with governments around achieving these outcomes.
Is food and grocery manufacturing and the contribution that it makes to the Australian economy often taken for granted?
For a number of years, we have put forward proposals for incentives to really boost capital investment in food and grocery manufacturing. And that's to achieve not only sustainability outcomes, but also to ensure the competitiveness of Australian manufacturing. We know that when we look across the globe, a number of other markets have governments providing support to manufacturing, and that poses a risk to Australian manufacturing. So we want to make sure that we can work with governments here to shore up a strong footprint of manufacturing in Australia, not only to provide sovereignty of capability, but also great economic benefits.
There's certainly a skills shortage in the industry throughout supply chain and throughout the sector. What can be done about developing the skills and attracting the bright young talent for the future?
There are skill shortages right across the supply chains at the moment. Some of these have resulted from the disruption over the last few years. We've seen skill shortages in manufacturing right through to truck drivers. And some of those skill shortages are areas that need to be addressed more holistically in concert with government. That may involve policies around migration to be able to attract skills to fill some of these shortages. And it also means working with governments to upskill capabilities, because as we transition to new technologies, we also need to make sure that we have the right skills base that is going to support the adoption of those. That's not to say that there won't be a role for traditional skills. There always will be in manufacturing, but it's about growing complementary skills that are needed into the future.
What sort of investment is necessary to grow the industry?
We've set a high level of ambition for growth in food and grocery manufacturing. The industry's been ticking along at about 2 to 4% growth over the years per annum. We've set an ambition of doubling the size of the industry by 2030 to a $250 billion industry. And we think that that's possible largely through driving export growth, but also by increasing value adding in Australia. That means that we need to have a really coordinated policy focus on food and grocery manufacturing, on how critical it is to our economy, and the policy levers that are needed to really drive growth in this sector.
Investing in manufacturing as part of a vertically integrated business model is creating jobs and new markets for a farm in southern Victoria. Caldermead Farm has developed its brand by encouraging customers to come and visit and see a commercial farm in action. Reporter Sandy Kay got up before dawn to report on their farm to fork strategy.
Welcome to Caldermead Farm, located only an hour out of Melbourne on the South Gippsland Highway, a gateway to the fertile food bowl of Victoria. The property invites everyone to come in and experience a working dairy farm, and it's home to 400 head of Jersey cattle, producing nearly 6 million litres of milk every year.
We wanted to develop our brand, to have people come and see it and see a commercial farm in action and just enjoy watching the cows be milked and see what is real about their food. It doesn't just appear on the shelves in a bottle, it has a lot behind it.
Since buying the farm in 2017, Caldermead has expanded to include full production facilities and a farm cafe where visitors get the full paddock-to-plate experience. Caldermead is run on a vertically integrated business model. The team is so committed to the project that it's recently poured millions of dollars into innovation and investment. General Manager Grant McConkey explains.
We've just built a state-of-the-art facility to process our milk going straight into the bottle. We also manufacture butter, yoghurt and ice cream, and that's all from our Jersey milk straight off the farm. We see the investment as supporting the local community. We're very proud to be able to create jobs through this region.
They're going to come up, they'll come and feed all along the side like a pack of sharks.
A lot of what we do at Coldmead Farm is bringing through groups of children, families, school tours. They're learning about where their food comes from and the truth behind their food and what it means to buy a bottle of milk and the story that leads to it.
Coldmead Farm and its products are attracting attention, including from international customers, through support from dairy industry body Dairy Australia.
We have been working with Coldmead Farm for quite some years to take our international visitors to go have a look at the farm, to show them around how quality management is being done, farm management, and how the animals, the cows, being taken care of on the farm. So it was really, really good for us to be able to showcase all these best practice of farm management and animal management, quality management, food safety management to our important international customers.
And there is so much to show every visitor who comes here. The food and the production processes are totally visible. Sales and Marketing Director Peter Lansley explains.
We're an open farm here. The source of origin is a very important thing for us, and that's what resonates with all customers that are interested in what they eat and what they're getting in their products. We're very transparent in what we do, and we love that story. We've got two main areas. It's the Jersey products and the goat products. The goat products are a real piece of difference for us. We're doing milks, yogurts, butters. The quality that we provide from our milk, which is the highest source of fat and protein, and how we put that together gives a superior product. And we really take great delight in delivering these products to the market. So not only do we support a local market, what we're finding is that we've got an international interest in what we're doing. The international market is something for the future, but not too far off.
Food and grocery manufacturing has a huge role to play in feeding Australia and exporting our best to the world. To do that, investment is needed in technology and sustainability. Stephen Claney met with ANZ analyst Michael Whitehead to find out just how a growing global population, shifting provenance demands and an expanding global middle class will drive demand.
The setting was a little archaic, but Michael Whitehead was all about looking forward, positive about our challenges and our opportunities.
The reality of the food and grocery manufacturing sector in Australia right now is that the global opportunities are bigger than ever before, and heading towards 2030 will be immense. But how does it compare to the global competitors? They are big, they are seeing exactly the same markets, ours and others, they are well resourced, and we need to know that we are playing in the big league and we have to do everything we can to compete against them.
For our food and grocery industry, that often means competing against companies getting greater support from their governments.
Australian manufacturers do face a number of pressures, whether these be labour costs and labour availability, whether these be the interest rate environment of the moment, whether these be energy and other input prices. Certainly they are there. And to be absolutely realistic, a number of our global competitors do get more support from a number of areas than we do in Australia, whether it's subsidies or so many other government measures. But we need to accept that that is the reality of competition.
For an industry of such economic importance, an industry employing almost 300,000 Australians, the potential is enormous. It already contributes almost $134 billion.
If we look forward, based on projections, by 2030 the contribution of this sector to Australia could be around $250 billion. Think about that. That's $250 billion that this industry could be putting into Australia.
Michael believes Australia is a focus for investment because of our reputation. But to take advantage, we need to show unity.
For investors to be convinced to increasingly put their capital into here, they will need more of a business case, more of the metrics, more of the sustainability measures around this as well. And they will very much need to know that industry and government are working closely together to make this a great investment destination for their capital.
What's the biggest challenge for the industry?
The biggest challenge for this sector is the competition. Yes, the market is growing, consumers in Australia and around the world, but so are our competitors. They know that too. Different countries around the world, different companies from around the world. So we've talked about everything from energy to labour, and we know that, and we accept the reality of those. But we have to know what competitors are doing and make sure that we are a step ahead of them.
And what is the biggest opportunity?
The biggest opportunity is the consumer and the changing consumer needs and us being aware of that, whether it's in health needs, whether it's in a variety of needs, whether it's in changing foods and demands, for us to look at what the consumer will want in Australia and globally and work towards that.
And the future? Michael sees enormous possibilities for large and small players in this industry.
The great thing about food and grocery manufacturing in Australia is that it is a wonderful combination of high-tech and large-scale and of boutique. Whether it's our biggest and most innovative companies using their knowledge to create new opportunities, or somebody in their backyard, somebody in their home office, coming up with an idea, a concept, building it up, creating relationships and taking it to Australia and out to the world.
The food and grocery sector might still be facing disruptive times, but despite challenges, a mix of perseverance and innovation has enabled some manufacturers to not only thrive domestically, but also tackle new export markets.
For a country and an industry with a reputation for producing foods raised in regional Australia and nourished with Aussie's sunshine, SPC is taking its heritage and a new focus on innovation to the world. What began as the Shepparton Fruit Preserving Company in 1917 has endured changes in ownership, disruption and a poor season, to emerge as SPC Global Limited with its sights set on world markets.
SPC is a very old and well-established brand. The beautiful thing about this brand is it has survived, or SPC has survived the ups and downs and times for over 100 years. The brand has not been exploited to its full potential. The people around the world do not know what SPC is, and I think they should know what SPC is.
With the tagline, Better Food for the Future, the company has added new categories and more exotic products to its range. And the SPC Care range, supplied to hospitals and care homes and tailored to suit consumer tastes in different global markets.
What would your message be to the Australian food and grocery sector in approaching export markets? What do we have to offer and how do we have to innovate to make the most of that potential?
Innovation does not just mean innovation of the product. It also means innovation of the packaging, innovation in the supply chain, innovation how we use water or how we store food. So it's innovation along the whole supply chain and the product itself.
And it's that innovative approach that will enable our food and grocery industry to focus on the value-adding manufacturing that is so vital to growth. In rural areas like the Goulburn Valley, that means providing jobs, supporting local communities, and sourcing ingredients and packaging locally wherever possible.
We're trying to minimise global imports. So we're trying to work with partners in Australia. The less that we have to get stuff from around the world, the less, obviously, the shorter the supply chain is, the more reactive it is, the more cost-effective it is. And from our perspective also, the more beneficial for the Australian economy.
Recent global agricultural and economic disturbances have demonstrated that manufacturing on home soil is important to ensure we can feed our nation. There's the imperative to innovate and build a resilient supply chain, as well as focusing on all aspects of sustainability.
We are investing in our manufacturing facility to reduce waste. We are upgrading equipment to consume less water and less electricity. We're too small on a global scale to be investing on our own with green packaging. So we're keeping a very close eye, and we talk to our partners like Fizzy and other people on a regular basis to try to find a more greener solution.
The soils, fresh air and sunlight of the Goulburn Valley were the ideal climate to attract growers more than a century ago. And now, Hussein Rafai believes the time has come for our regional products to attract consumers around the world.
We are a very creative and innovative nation. We can produce a lot of food to feed multiple folds of our population. The issue is we cannot just keep digging things out of the ground and selling them. We can't keep selling commodities like sheep and wheat. We have to take the next step and be innovative in our food so that we can continue to sell it, or we can expand our global markets in there. I have no doubt that we can do that.
And that's all from us for now. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of how businesses in the food and grocery sector are turning challenges into opportunities and developing winning strategies for sustaining Australia. If you've seen a story that you'd like to review or share, all the films and episodes are available on the AFGC website. So until we meet again, here's wishing you a successful and sustainable future. Goodbye.